I was standing in the back corner of a crowded hotel ballroom. In my hands was a silver box wrapped with a black ribbon. My father's voice boomed through the microphone. Not every child has what it takes to be great. He didn't say my name. He didn't have to. Everyone in that room knew exactly who he meant. Polite laughter rippled through the crowd, the kind that cuts deeper than silence, the kind that makes you want to disappear. But I didn't disappear. I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. 400 heads turned to stare at me. My heels clicked against the marble floor. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, walking toward the stage where he stood. His face went white when he saw me coming. I climbed those stairs, looked him dead in the eyes. "From your biggest disappointment," I said, my voice steady as steel. I placed the silver box in his trembling hands. "Congratulations on your retirement, Dad." Then I turned my back on him, walked down those stairs, walked out of that ballroom, and I never looked back, not once. My name is Rachel Anderson. I'm 27 years old, and I'm the lead architect who designed the new children's hospital downtown, the one that everyone's talking about. But my father, he had no idea because he never asked. He never cared. He hadn't opened the box yet, and when he did, everything would change. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we dive deeper, comment below and tell me, have you ever been underestimated by your own family? Drop a 1 if yes and a 2 if no. I want to know I'm not alone here. Growing up in the Anderson household was like living in a competition you never signed up for. Everything was about winning. Everything was about being the best. My brothers, Christopher and Matthew, were the golden children. Football stars, debate champions, Dad's pride and joy. Their trophies lined the shelves. Their medals hung on the walls. Me, I liked drawing buildings. I liked designing spaces where people could feel safe. When I was 9, I built a treehouse in our backyard. I drew the plans. I measured everything. I hammered every nail myself. Mom thought it was wonderful. Dad walked by, glanced up and said, "That's not gonna hold, you built it wrong." He never checked if it held. Spoiler alert, it held for 7 years. That was the day I learned something that would shape my entire life. Some people are so busy looking for your mistakes, they miss your miracles. I worked like a machine through school. Late nights, early mornings, energy drinks and determination. I graduated top of my class, valedictorian. The day finally came, cap and gown. Honor cords around my neck, my moment to shine. I saved them seats, front row. I texted the details 3 times. The ceremony started. I walked across that stage. I received my diploma. I looked out at the audience. Their seats, empty, all 3 of them. I went back to my tiny studio apartment that evening, still in my graduation gown, eating Chinese takeout straight from the container. At 10 p.m., Dad finally texted, "Sorry, kiddo, the boys had a game, couldn't miss it." I stared at that message until my vision blurred. That's when I truly understood. I had spent my whole life fighting for a seat at a table that was never meant for me. But here's the thing about hope. It's stubborn. It doesn't die easily. It whispers, "Maybe next time." So I kept going, kept building, kept designing, kept proving myself to someone who refused to see me. What I didn't know was that the evidence of my worth and the end of my patience was sitting in a manila folder in my desk drawer, waiting. The invitation came on a Tuesday afternoon. Thick cardstock, embossed gold lettering. "Join us in celebrating 35 years of excellence. Black tie required, grand ballroom." My first instinct, throw it away, burn it, forget it existed. But that little voice whispered again, "Maybe this time he'll see you. Maybe this time he'll be proud." So I bought a plane ticket. I bought a midnight blue dress. I wrote and rewrote what I'd say if he finally acknowledged me. Practiced in the mirror until the words felt real. While packing, I found something. An old manila folder buried under sketch pads and architecture books. Inside was a drawing I made when I was 6 years old. A crayon picture of a house, red roof, yellow walls, stick figures holding hands in front. At the bottom, in wobbly handwriting, "Me and Daddy's dream house." I remembered that day. I remembered showing it to him with so much excitement. He glanced at it for 2 seconds and said, "Houses don't look like that in real life, Rachel." I held that drawing in my hands and something inside me cracked. Not in a breaking way, in a waking way. I took it to a framing shop downtown. "Black frame," I told them. "Make it look important." Back in my apartment, I wrapped it carefully in silver paper, tied a black ribbon around it. On a plain white card, I wrote these words, each letter deliberate, each word chosen with precision. "This is the last time I asked for your approval. I was 6. I'm 27 now. I don't need it anymore." I slid the card into the box with the framed drawing. closed the lid. It felt like sealing a contract, a promise to myself, this ends tonight. The grand ballroom looked like something from a magazine. Crystal chandeliers, silk drapes, round tables with centerpieces taller than children. A projection screen showed Dad's career highlights on loop, buildings he'd consulted on, awards he'd won, interviews he'd given. 35 years compressed into 7 minutes. Not a single family photo. Not one birthday, not one Christmas morning, nothing. Christopher and Matthew worked the room like politicians, shaking hands, laughing loudly. When they saw me, Christopher smirked. Still playing with crayons and paper, Matthew snickered. Something in me went ice cold. I smiled sweetly. Something like that. I found my assigned seat, table 12. In the back, naturally, I placed the silver box on my lap. Its weight anchored me, reminded me why I came. The lights dimmed. Dad took the stage. Applause erupted like thunder. He smiled, waved, soaked it all in. He started his speech, thanking colleagues, sharing stories, making jokes that made everyone laugh. Then he got to the family section. I couldn't have done this without my sons, he said, voice swelling with pride. Christopher and Matthew pushed me to be better. They inherited my drive, my determination, my vision. He paused, looked around the room. Not every child has what it takes to follow in your footsteps. Some just don't have it. The room laughed, uncomfortably. A few people glanced my way. Pity in their eyes. That's when I stood up. My chair scraped loudly. Conversation stopped. Heads turned. A spotlight might as well have hit me. I picked up the silver box, started walking. Slowly, deliberately. Every eye in that ballroom glued to me. I could feel my brother's shock. Could feel the audience's confusion. Could feel Dad's panic rising as I climbed those stage stairs. I stood next to him, close enough to smell his cologne, close enough to see the fear in his eyes. From your biggest disappointment, I said clearly into the microphone. The daughter who never had what it takes. I placed the box in his hands. Congratulations on your retirement. I turned, walked down those stairs, my heels clicking like a countdown. I walked past tables of frozen faces, past my brothers who sat like SDATUES, past hundreds of people who would talk about this moment for years. I pushed through the double doors, into the hallway, into the night air, into my new life. Someone filmed it. Of course someone did. By morning, the video had 500,000 views, silent footage, but you could read everything. His words captioned at the bottom, my walk, the box, the exit, comments flooded in. Queen behavior. I felt this in my soul. My father did this to me too. Messages filled my inbox, hundreds of them, strangers sharing their pain, their strength, their stories. I read every single one, crying, but not sad tears, freedom tears. Then his message came through. Rachel, house, now. No apology, no explanation, a command, like always, like I was still that 6-year-old girl desperate for his attention. But here's what changed. I wasn't that girl anymore. I drove to the house anyway. Not because he ordered me to, because I wanted to see his face when reality hit him. The house looked exactly the same. White columns, manicured lawn, the porch light that never turned off. I still had my key from high school, never returned it. I let myself in. Vanilla candles, that same smell from childhood. Dad sat in his office, leather chair, mahogany desk. The silver box sat opened in front of him. The frame lay there, my crayon drawing, my 6-year-old handwriting, my dream. He stared at it like it was evidence in a trial. For a long moment, neither of us spoke, just the hum of the air conditioner, just our breathing. I don't remember this, he finally said, voice barely above a whisper. Of course you don't, I replied. It was important to me, not to you. His jaw tightened. You think I didn't care about you? I don't think it, Dad. I know it. I have 27 years of evidence. He picked up the frame with shaking hands. I pushed you because I wanted you to be strong. No, I said firmly. You pushed me away because I wasn't what you wanted. There's a difference. Silence crashed between us like a wave, heavy, suffocating. My father was hard on me, he said finally. He said emotions were weakness. He said creativity was a waste of time. He made me prove myself every single day. There it was, the root of everything. His father wounded him, so he wounded me. Trauma passed down like a family heirloom. So you decided to do the same thing to me? I asked. Except worse, because you had sons to celebrate and a daughter to ignore. His face crumpled, aged 10 years in 10 seconds. I saw how talented you were, he whispered. It terrified me. I didn't know how to handle a daughter who was brilliant. Those words should have felt like victory, but they just felt sad. I was never your disappointment, Dad, I said quietly. You were mine. You taught me exactly what kind of parent I'll never be. He nodded slowly, like a man accepting a verdict. Rachel, he said, my name sounding foreign in his mouth. You deserved better than me. He stopped there, couldn't quite reach the word sorry. I stood. He didn't stop me, didn't beg me to stay. We both understood. Some bridges burn for a reason. Outside, the porch light flickered. I breathed in the cool night air. It tasted like release. Sometimes peace doesn't come from reconciliation. It comes from walking away. I drove back to my downtown apartment. City lights sparkled below like fallen stars. Work resumed Monday morning. Blueprint reviews, client meetings. The children's hospital project entering final phases. Excellence felt good. Not because someone was watching, because it was mine. My best friend Nicole came over with wine and sympathy. You destroyed him, she said, eyes wide. Respectfully, beautifully, perfectly. I laughed until I cried, then slept 12 hours straight. My firm's director called me into her office Wednesday. The mayor wants you to present the hospital design at the city council meeting, she said. This is huge, Rachel. Her eyes asked if I was ready. Mine answered with fire. That night, I started writing my presentation. Not about revenge, not about Dad, about the 6-year-old girl who drew dream houses, about building something meaningful when the world tells you you're not enough. The video kept climbing. 1 million views, 2 million, comments from architects and doctors and teachers, people who felt invisible. My family never supported my dreams either. You gave me courage to walk away. I'm printing your quote and framing it. I didn't respond to all of them, but I read every single one. Proof that pain shared becomes power. Mom called on Friday. We talked about surface things, weather, recipes, her book club. She didn't mention the party. Didn't mention Dad, but at the end, she said something different. I saw the news article about your hospital design, she said carefully. It said you're the youngest lead architect in the state. Silence. Then I didn't know you were doing something so important. My throat tightened. It's very important, Mom. I'm proud of it. She paused. I'm proud too. 3 words, 27 years late, but they landed. I didn't think about forgiveness. I thought about forward, about standing tall when the world expects you to shrink. I practiced my presentation to an empty room. The words felt powerful, true, like they were carved from stone. 4 months later, a package arrived. Small, brown paper, no return address. Inside was a newspaper clipping, the article about my hospital design. In the margins, Dad's handwriting, messy, rushed. I hung this in my office. I tell everyone my daughter designed this. I'm sorry I made you wait so long to hear me say I'm proud. You were always enough. I was just too broken to see it. No signature, no phone call, just words on paper. Too late to fix everything, just enough to close the wound. I put it in a box labeled history. Not because I forgave everything, because I released it. Healing wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. It was morning coffee. It was blueprints spread across my desk. It was building a life on MY terms. I finished my presentation at midnight. The best revenge isn't destruction, it's creation. Build something so beautiful, so meaningful, that their doubt becomes irrelevant. I wrote it for every person told they weren't enough. You don't need permission to be extraordinary. Stand tall. Build anyway. Walk away from anyone who can't see your light. That night, I stood on my balcony. City lights blinked like PROMISES. I breathed in the cool air. Free, finally free, not because he apologized, because I stopped needing him to. I walked away from his approval, and I walked into my purpose. The Children's Hospital opened 6 months later. My name on the dedication plaque. MY Design Saving Lives. That was the revenge, not the box, not the speech. Building something beautiful from the ashes of rejection. If this story fired you up, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe to Revenge Voice for more stories about turning pain into power. Hit that notification bell because the next story drops soon and you do not want to miss it. Remember, the best revenge is becoming everything they said you couldn't be.